Howdy cowpokes, today we're going over a list of Red Dead Redemption's most famous gunslingers. In no particular order, let's get into it. Today we'll be starting off the list with the one and only William Schnell, aka Billy Midnight. As a young man, Billy worked as a stable boy. He got his claim to fame after killing a gunslinger by the name of Rabbit Matthews. Even though Billy killed Rabbit in his sleep, Billy went on speaking tours telling an exaggerated story of how he killed the famed gunslinger. We know that he spoke in many cities, most notably being St. Louis, San Francisco, and St. Denis. Billy's not so accurate tale often landed him with death threats and even assassination attempts by those who knew the truth, which is why he acted so hostile towards Arthur in that one side mission. Depending on whether Arthur disarms him or not during the duel, Billy will either himself or get shot by Arthur. Next on the list we have Landon Ricketts. Landon Ricketts was a legend during the prime of the Old West. He was present during the Blackwater Massacre and is known for having great skill at poker. He moved to Mexico in 1902 and became the unofficial lawman of Chuparosa. In 1911, Landon Ricketts also accompanied John Marston in missions that involved killing bandits, saving hostages, and more. Sadly, he passed away in his sleep in 1914. Next in line is Maribel Elizabeth Coulter, aka Black Belle. She started off her career as an outlaw by committing her first robbery in Rhodes. After this, Black Belle co-founded and became an infamous member of the Coulter-Tobin gang, which she is the only survivor of. Black Belle and her gang would travel across the US, robbing banks and making a name for themselves. A little fun fact for you, Black Belle was married 6 different times, and every single time her husband would die. This kind of explains why she's called Black Belle. She's like a black widow, or a widow, not a black widow. You know what I mean. Now we have Flaco Hernandez. There is limited info on his backstory, but let me fill you in on what we do know. We know that Flaco was a career criminal and that by the year 1899, he was wanted in 8 different states for his crimes. Flaco would often work with Del Lobos and conduct raids on towns like Valentine, Annensburg, and Strawberry. He later moved up to the Grizzlies to run his own gang, which gave him the name the Terror of the Grizzlies. Flaco would eventually meet his fate in a duel with Arthur Morgan. Now we have Emmet Granger. In 1882, Emmet Granger rose to fame after being connected to a large list of crimes. He was reported to have been at the scene of a brutal massacre in Beaver Brook, and just a few years later, in 1886, he was suspect number 1 in the disappearance of the Laidlaw family. In 1890, he was suspect in the Charperl killings. In 1895, he found himself under federal protection after providing evidence to lawmen that would lead to the arrest of the Fosse gang. It's rumored that Granger would often make up his involvement in some of these events for fame. In Granger's later life, he became a hog farmer, and sadly would meet the same fate as the rest of his gunslinger peers, by being killed in a duel with Arthur Morgan. Not before taking a shower, of course. At number 6, we have Boy Calloway. Jim was considered to be the fastest left-hand draw in all the West. He is rumored to have killed 14 men in a gunfight at Leslie Hollow, and is supposedly involved in an incident that happened at Sylvia's Saloon in 1876. Jim would develop a rivalry with Slim Grant after he had killed his cousin. Jim challenged him to a duel, but never showed up. Because of this, Calloway is considered a fraud by many other gunslingers. Even Black Belle says that he usually runs away from fights. Later in life, Calloway would become a drunk and die after challenging Arthur Morgan to a duel. At number 7, we have Slim Grant. Grant, just like previously mentioned, was a longtime rival of Boy Calloway. He killed Calloway's cousin Jed in 1882 and claims that he would have done the same to Calloway if he had shown up for their duel. Years later, in 1899, Calloway challenged Grant to another duel. Grant refused to duel Calloway and was shot in the back during Calloway's fit of rage. Number 8 is Frank Hech. Frank is probably one of the least known characters on this list because he is only mentioned a small amount of times throughout the game. Here's a quick story about him from Jack Marston's.
Alright, listen to this. Frank Hech. Frank Hech looked at the sheriff cold. Clearly you don't know who I am, he snarled. And before the sheriff could blink, the fastest young man west of the Grizzlies had filled him full of cold lead. The town was free once more.
Frank is never encountered at any point in the game. This is probably due to the fact that he got killed inside of the Tumbleweed Saloon. Number 9, the shortest one on the list, the Jack Hall Gang. The Jack Hall Gang started off their dastardly life of crime by robbing banks. They started in California, but eventually found themselves in New Hanover. They buried a pocket watch and planned on retrieving it, but they all died before doing so. The player can use a map to find this watch. In number 10, the legendary Red Harlow. Red Harlow has a long story, so I'll try to sum it up. Red was born in 1864. His father, Nate Harlow, was a gold miner, and his mother was the daughter of a native tribe chief. At age 14, Red lost both of his parents during an attack by some bandits. After losing his parents, Red grew up to become a famous bounty hunter and feared gunslinger. Red would take bounty after bounty until hearing of a man that fit the same description as the one who killed his father. From there, Red committed himself to finding his father's killer and killing him. This journey would lead Red to kill anyone who got in his way. Red even ends up killing the governor. He will forever be cemented in Red Dead Redemption legend. And that concludes our list. I hope you enjoyed, and since you're here, check out my channel. Maybe you'll like me enough to sub. Like the video if you want, or dislike it, and let me know what I can improve on. Until next time, see ya, cowpokes.